Jai Hind, dear students, we are moving to the next element in directing. We are learning two different elements of directing from this video lesson. So, welcome all of you. Here in this module, you will learn about what is the concept of leadership and what are the different styles of leadership. Also, the another element of directing communication, its importance, and also what are the different barriers, how to overcome all the barriers of communication. First of all, we are going to learn what is leadership. You know very well, in our day-to-day life, we are influenced by lot of personalities, maybe like business peoples or our father of nation, Gandhiji, Nehru, other peoples are there who influenced our life as a leader. APJ Abdul Kalam, lot of peoples are there who influenced our life. So whenever we are thinking about a leader, sometimes we will think about some politicians or famous authors, some business peoples, etc. Here, you have awareness about the concept of a leader. A leader is a person who is influencing others, for attaining some objectives. In business also, as a part of management, the manager have to influence his subordinates to achieve the organizational objectives. So, we have relevant knowledge regarding leaders and leaders. We have to develop how to become a good leader. So, first of all, we are going to learn about the meaning of leadership. Leadership is the activity of influencing people to strive willingly for mutual objectives. Here in organization, the leaders are influencing subordinates to achieve the organizational objectives effectively. So, always leadership indicates the ability of an individual to maintain good interpersonal relations with followers and motivate them to contribute for achieving organizational objectives. So, whatever may be the organization, maybe a small scale or large scale organization, whether there is a good relationship between the superior and subordinate, the organization will grow. Otherwise, there will be no growth for the organization. So, always the relationship between a leader, maybe the manager or the assistant manager, and the subordinates, between these two peoples or all members of the organization influence for the achievement of organizational objectives. It helps in persuading employees to work cooperatively and enthusiastically towards common goals. So every time good leaders makes a good chain between a good connection between all the workers in an organization. So, always if the firm have good creative and democratic leader, maybe the principal of a school or the manager of an organization or maybe the class leader, union leader, if they have such a quality to influence all the people in that organization, they will survive and the work will be in a friendly and collaborative atmosphere. All will think in a same way for the achievement of organizational goals. So just keep in your mind, leadership is the activity of influencing all the people in an organization for the achievement of organizational goals. So normally, a leader have to possess lot of qualities like constructiveness, discipline, accountable to the organization, intelligent, influential, balanced personality, earnest, positive attitude, reliable, trustworthy, dynamic personality, resourceful leader, inspiring person, a visionary about future, involved in all activities, encouraging always the subordinates, responsible for the organization head, efficient to tackle all the problems in the organization, focused on the main core objectives of the organization, empowering all the subordinates, knowledgeable, wise, always flexible as per the situation, assertive, respectful personality, communicative, competent, dedicated. So all these words shows how a leader should be. So they have to possess, a good leader have to possess all these type of qualities to become a good leader to lead all the members, fellow members of the organization. We have to learn more. We have to give more stress for the concept, the different styles of leadership. The different styles of leadership. So you know very well about the term, about the person. Whenever we are remembering the term or the name Hitler, Adolf Hitler, who ruled one country and who is the reason for the death of so many people around the world. You just think about the personality of such a leader who ruled the whole country as a president. You will get the name or the term autocratic. So, in every organization, there will be some leaders like autocratic leaders who will never consider the views of others, who will take decisions with their own thinking without accepting the viewpoints of others, never discuss with the other fellow workers. Such type of autocratic leaders will defeat the organization. It will be, they will curtail. They are the reason for the undergrowth of every organization. So we have to learn first style of leadership, that is autocratic or authoritarian leader. Autocratic or authoritarian leader, first style of leadership. Just remember the name Adolf Hitler. So an autocratic leader gives orders to the subordinates and insists that they are obeyed. So they will never mind about the mentality, feelings of subordinates. They will give orders and make them obey. The leader, who is an autocratic leader, determines the policy for the group without consulting them. All the decisions will be taken, all the organizational policies are framed without consulting other workers or officials in the levels of management. He does not give information about future plans, but simply tell the group what immediate step they must take. So a lot of leaders are there. They will tell the order or they will pass the orders at a certain moment. You have to do like this at this moment. Otherwise, I will dismiss you. Like that, shouting. So under this style, all decision making power is centralized in the leader. So centralization is the main character of these type of leaders. They will never interested to share the authority. He does not give the subordinate any freedom to influence his decision. So these type of leaders will not give freedom for the subordinates, or he will never accept the creative ideas brought by the subordinate. That type of leaders are known as autocratic or authoritarian leader. So you have to find out more examples from different books, or you can recollect the famous personality and identify who are coming under the autocratic or authoritarian leader. Next style of leadership is just opposite to autocratic leader. You just watch this picture. Here, one leader is sitting in the center and collecting opinions from both sides, maybe regarding important plans of the organization, objectives to be achieved in the future. So these type of leaders are common all around the world. They are known as democratic leader. They are known as democratic leader, or otherwise he is known as participative leader, or otherwise known as participative leader. So these type of leaders will give more freedom for the workers under him and also take decision by consulting with these workers, subordinates. So a democratic leader gives order only after consulting with the group and work out the policies with the acceptance of the group. So all the policies will be given as an order only after the discussion with the workers. This improves the attitude of the employees towards their jobs and the organization. So every time who accepts the organization where employees' viewpoints are accepted, they will be intrinsically motivated. The motivation will come from the mind of the employee. They will do maximum for the organization. So, where democratic type of leaders are ruling the organization, the workers are always cooperative with the management. Using this style of mutual benefit, it allows them, means it allows the subordinates to become a part of the term and helps leaders, the seniors, the superiors to make better decisions. So, in this type of organization where democratic type of or participative type of leaders are ruling, they will accept whatever may be the ideas, the creative suggestions by the employees. So, my dear students, remember nowadays, in order to survive in the organization, majority of the organization heads are acting like democratic leader. Some are living like a democratic leader, some are acting as a democratic leader, depending upon the situation. So that is the second style of democratic leadership, and the third one is a different type of leadership. Some people are there, they will give, the head or the manager will give the whole work to the subordinates. He will just sitting on the desk or bench, watch what others are doing. Sometimes he will sleep after giving all the work divided into the subordinates. That type of leaders are known as laissez-faire leaders. Laissez-faire leaders. So, laissez-faire leader, otherwise it is known as free rein leaders. A free rein leader gives complete freedom to the subordinates. These type of leaders gives complete freedom, all the freedom to take decisions of important matters and to purchase anything, whatever may be, they are giving importance. These type of leaders give all the duties to the subordinates. Such a leader avoids the use of power. Never use the power, all the powers are decentralized. He depends largely upon the group to establish its own goals and work out its own problems. So, under this leader, all the workers have the freedom to think and do. Group members work themselves as per their own choice and competence. The leader will never interfere in their matters. The workers have to take any action, they have to solve the problems, they have to move according to their own wish. The leader exists as a contact man with the outsiders to bring the information and the resources which the group requires for accomplishing the job. So these type of leaders only collect the information or resources which are important for the subordinates. So all the work will be done by the subordinates. He just sit there and manage the entire workers only with the decisions taken by the subordinates. Never interfere in the work of the subordinates. He is just sitting as a leader. So these type of leaders are known as laissez-faire or free rein leaders. Free rein means all the work, other powers or the decision making power is given to the subordinates. Freedom. So remember three type of leadership style. One, autocratic or authoritarian, democratic or participative, laissez-faire or free rein leaders. So this is regarding what is leadership and what are the different styles of leadership. So my dear students, please collect maximum examples for the three type of styles. And keep in your mind, you can take can create one digital album of all the leaders who comes under these three categories, that will enrich your knowledge. Okay, so we are moving to the last element of directing and the last concept from the chapter directing, that is communication. Dear students, without communication, we can't move ahead for the achievement of organizational objectives. So, communication plays a predominant role in directing. You know very well the meaning of the term communication. It involves exchanging of information between two different persons. Let us recall what is the meaning of the term communication. Already you know very well, and you can recall what is the traditional forms of communication and the modern forms of communication available in our common life, day-to-day life, as well as in the business field. So communication is the transfer of information from the sender to the receiver. It is the process of transfer or exchanging of ideas or information from the sender to the receiver, with the information being understood by the receiver. So the communication process will complete when the message sent by the sender will be received by the receiver, and the receiver will give a feedback about his or her understanding. So directing abilities of a manager mainly depends upon his communication skill. That is why organization always emphasize on improving communication skill of managers as well as employees. For example, whenever we are applying for on job in the corporate sector, they prefer people having good communication skills, especially in English, maybe in the UK accent or in the Britain accent, UK accent and England accent. So different type of slang is followed in America and in Britain. So we have to, whenever we are communicating with our client, we have to use the proper language. So communication plays a very important role to attract our customers or to pass the information very clearly. So remember the role of communication in business field. It plays a dominant role to exchange the information, maybe taken the decisions taken by the top management to the bottom, or maybe the suggestions from the bottom to the top management, passing information about the product to the customers, or passing information to the clients or dealers, etc. The elements of communication shows sender. First comes the sender will create the message, then the message will be encoded. Sender will create the message and the message will be encoded. Encoding means creating the message in the form of symbols, which is easily identifiable by the receiver. So the person who is creating the sender and using the language used for creating the message must be understandable by the receiver. Okay, so creating the message, encoding. Encoding means using symbols and words. The message is created and transfer it through channel, maybe through mobile phone or through internet, Gmail, whatever it may be. And the message will pass to a receiver. A receiver will decode the message. Decoding means the message will be decoded to symbols, which is understandable by the receiver. After understanding the message, the receiver will send a feedback to the sender. Then only the process will be complete. So it shows a process, a continuous process. So these are the elements. Just remember, only for a basic awareness, already you know sender, message, encoding, the channel, receiver, decoding, feedback are the elements of communication. it's very important to know what are the different types of communication available in an organization. Normally, two types of communications are used. Two types of communication are used between the superior and subordinate while talking formally or informally. Based on that, the types of communication originates. Two types of communications are there: formal communication and informal communication. Suppose I am the superior in an organization and talking to the subordinates about the organizational matters, working conditions, and future plans. That type of communication is known as formal communication. At the same time, when I am talking to my subordinates about his or her personal matters, like the education of their child, health of their family members, there comes the informal communication. That is known as informal communication. So, have a look at the formal communication. Formal communication flows through official channels designed in the organization chart. This communication may take place between a superior and subordinates. So every time, remember, the communication passes through the official channel, maybe from the manager, managing director to the manager, maybe assistant manager, and from assistant manager through the supervisor, from supervisor to the lower level workers, communication flows. Then it is known as formal communication. This communication may take place between the superior and subordinate. A subordinate and superior or among same canary employees or managers, same workers of same department. The communication may be oral or written, but generally recorded and filled in the office. It will be filed in the office because it is for the future reference purpose. So, communication which passes through the official channels is known as formal communication. So, remember, it will include only important decisions and plans and policies of the organization. That type of communication is known as formal communication. And the next one is informal communication. Already I told, informal communication takes place without the formal lines of communication, formal ways of communication, or formal channels of communication. There, the superior and subordinate will never talk about the official matters. They will talk about the informal matters like the personal health of employees, their educational matters, their training matters, or it may be the education of their children, health condition, what are the infrastructural facilities available and needed for them, etc., comes under the informal communication. So, communication takes place without following the formal lines of communication is said to be informal communication. Informal system of communication is generally referred to as grapevine. That type of informal communication is known as grapevine communication because it spreads throughout the organization. We can find out where it is started. That is why it is known as grapevine. Looking like the communication process will looking like a grapevine. All the people will talk. We can't predict and we can't find out the starting point of communication. That type of communication is known as informal communication about the informal matters between the superior and subordinate, and it will spread all over throughout the organization. So that is why it is known as grapevine communication. So remember the term grapevine communication. My dear students, we are moving to the last topic, last important topic that may expected in your board exam: barriers of communication. Barriers of communication. So a lot of barriers are there which hindrance the way of communication, which breaks the channel of communication. Maybe personal, psychological, emotional, lot of barriers are there. So we are moving to the first category: semantic barriers. Semantic barriers. So these type of barriers or distractions are occurred due to language problem, encoding and decoding problem. Suppose I am talking to one client. I am talking in English. The client is not able to understand the language, English language. Only he or she is know the mother tongue, maybe Malayalam or any other language. It is not possible to understand what I am telling to him. So, whatever may be the item or concept we are communicating to another party, he or she must understand. That is coming under the semantic barriers. So, it is concerned with semantic barriers is concerned with the problems and obstructions in the process of encoding and decoding of message into words or impressions. Suppose I am talking in Tamil to one of my friend who is not able to decode what I am telling in Tamil. It's possible to complete the communication process. Always it will break. Also, if I am talking to one subordinate who is not able to understand my English language, there will also a problem of semantic barrier. The communication process will break. So they are not able to decode or encode what is communicating as a message to that person. So it may be due to the first reason. Semantic barriers are occurred due to badly expressed message. Badly expressed message. Suppose one person is coming to us and asking address of some place just near to you. You are showing a wrong direction through your hand. So it will make a wrong message. It will pass a wrong message to that person. He or she is not able to reach the correct destination place. So when we are communicating some information to on another subordinate, we have to use correct gestures and movements. If we are using wrong, badly expressed movements of our bodies, it will break the communication. So badly expressed message will include sometimes it will include intended meaning may not be conveyed. Intended meaning will not be conveyed to the receiver. Also, it includes reasons like words with different meanings confuses the receiver. So sometimes the words are ambiguous. So we have to use words having single meaning. So different meaning words will always confuse or will not help to decode actual message conveyed by the sender. So remember, different words used in the communication with the different meanings. And faulty translation may transfer wrong messages. So faulty translation, if we are not using the proper channels of communication, that translation, you know very well Google Translator. When we are giving some words in English, we can convert that into any other language. But sometimes we will never get the actual translated word. It will create a wrong message in the communicator, the receiver also. And unclarified assumptions. Unclarified assumption means different interpretation about the concept shared by the sender. So different interpretation may result in communication. They will never come to the right point. So unclarified assumptions. Every time we have to give clear-cut concept, maybe in oral way or in written way. Then there will be some technical jargon. Technical jargon. Some people having super skills of communication will use some words having complexity and different meaning. Technical words, which is not easily understandable to the receiver. At that time, the person who is receiving these type of technical words, having speeches with the technical words, is not able to understand what is the speaker is intending. So technical words may not be understood by the workers. So we have to use simple language, simple words, which are easily understandable by all the workers in an organization. So semantic barriers is related to the words and impressions or the language used by the sender. So that is one of the barrier, one of the category of barrier which breaks the communication. My dear students, please remember important value points related to semantic barrier. Next one is related to our emotions, our feelings. We can say it is a part of psychology. So, psychological barriers are also there which breaks the communication. Psychological or emotional barriers. So, first one coming under the psychological barrier is premature evaluation. Premature evaluation. Sometimes the people, the subordinate will interfere in the communication process before the superior communicating or completing his communication process. At that time, the communication process is breaking. So, the subordinate will misunderstand and make some judgments that he or she know everything and will interfere. I know everything, but the communication process is not completed. The superior didn't completed his speech. That type of concept, errors, barriers are premature evaluation. Judgment before listening leads to misunderstanding. So, whatever may be the concept or instructions given by the superior, we have to be a careful listener first, then only the communication process. After the speech, once the speech is completed, we can interact. That is the best way. So, premature evaluation is one of the psychological barriers. Second one is lack of attention or poor attention. It may lead to disappointment of the employees. Disappointment of the employees. So, lack of attention by the employees, the subordinates. Sometimes they will never take into mind whatever may be the messages passed by the superior. Maybe the wrong relation, the misunderstanding between these two people, superior and subordinates. If there is no smooth relationship, they will never give more attention for the words coming from the superior. Lack of attention or poor attention. Maybe due to bad health also, employees will not listen all the words from the superior, maybe at the time of meetings. And next one is loss by transmission and poor retention. Loss by the message, the concept is breaked through the loss by transmission. Transmission means when the message is passed through the channel, if there is any problem, technical issue, or anything, or inaccurate message is passed, that will break the communication. So, generally, it comes in the oral communication. It is not repeating. When oral communication passes through various levels, it destroys the structure of the message or leads to transmission of inaccurate message. One person is hearing, he is transferring that message to other subordinate. When it reaches to the last person, the message will be inaccurate. With it will be filled with some other concepts and words, personal views by the senders. So poor retention, it will lead to poor retention. Another psychological problem. And also another concept, another barrier, psychological barrier, emotional barrier is distrust. If we are not trusting another one, we will never give, we will never listen, we will never give our mind to that person's words. If the parties do not believe each other, they cannot understand each other's message in its original sense. That is distrust. They will never hear what is the another one is telling. That is distrust. So remember the psychological or emotional barriers which will break the communication, premature evaluation, lack of attention or poor attention, loss by transmission and poor retention, distrust. If there is no good relation, the relation between superior and subordinate is not smooth, there will be break in the communication process. And some more barriers are there, some more organizational barriers are there which will break the communication process in the organization. So we have to look at what are the organizational barriers. First one is organizational policy. Some organizational head will follow an autocratic policy. There will be no smooth relationship between other workers. Highly competition will be there, and no proper ways of communication, maybe informal or informal communication. So, depending upon the organizational policy, the communication will break. It is comes under organizational barrier. So, if organizational policy does not support the free flow of information, it creates problem. Autocratic nature of the head of the organization always break the communication between the workers. But there will be a possibility of grapevine communication, means gossip. Then the rules and regulations framed by the organization. Second one, rules and regulations framed by the organization also leads to red tapeism and delay of action. So always when there is a rigid rule in the organization, all the workers have to follow like that. If they are not able, some organizations are there, they are strictly following, you have to talk in English or in their language. Suppose when we are going to work in other country, maybe in United States of America, we have to talk in English. We have to forget our mother tongue. If we are talking in mother tongue, there will be some punishments. So we have to follow the rules of the organization. So that will break original form of communication. And the status conscious managers may not allow subordinates to express their feelings freely. Status conscious managers, the manager or the head of the organization who wants to overcome other fellow beings who have good creative and constructive ideas will not allow to talk in important meetings. They will never give opportunity for such subordinates to express their feelings. That will also suppress the communication. And the last point is complexity in the organization structure result in delay and distortion. You know very well what is the organizational structure. Functional structure is there, divisional structure is there. So if the structure of organization is filled with more and more members, the possibility of breaking communication is high. If only few members are there, the communication process will be pakka. It will be very smooth. All the person will know every information related to the organization. So dear students, these are the organizational barriers. So every time remember the rules and regulations framed in the organization will affect the running of the organization, the passing of important information from one to another. That is organizational barrier. And we are moving to the next cause or the barrier of communication. Here, there will be no importance for the personal views. There will be no, if there is no good relation between superior and subordinates, that will always break the communication. So, that comes under the category personal barriers. Personal barriers. So, first point is related to the fear of challenge to authority may withhold or suppress a particular communication. Fear of challenge to authority. So, if subordinate have good creative talents and suggestions, and he is fearing to express his views to the management, the process will not be complete. Once the process will be completed, only when the suggestion will be received by the manager and he will send the feedback. Yes, good. It is a good suggestion. I will accept it. Then only it will be complete. Otherwise, it will not complete. It will break. So fear of challenge to authority. And the second point is lack of confidence of superior in his subordinate. Lack of confidence of superior in the subordinate. So subordinate will not give the viewpoints, importance to the viewpoints of subordinate. Every time he will reject the suggestions by the subordinate if the superior do not have any single element of confidence in the subordinate. So the lack of confidence of superior in this in his subordinate. So it will break the communication process. And third one is unwillingness to communicate. Every time we will talk to teachers who have friendly attitude, who gives freedom to talk everything. But those teachers have strictness. The students will not talk. They will fear to talk everything. So in organization also, due to the fear of punishment or demotion, the workers will not communicate. Suppose I would like to say one example of salary. Maybe the organization head is giving two category of salary for the workers. Maybe having same position, doing the same job, but giving two category of salary. So the workers having fear will never talk to the management about these type of kind of activities, showing partiality with the workers in related to salary. Not only in salary but in any other facilities. So the person who having fear of punishment and demotion of or resignation, they will compelled to resign the job. That type of fear, if the subordinate have, will never talk to the management. But those who have courage will talk to the management directly. This is not justice. What you have done is not justice in front of the law or in front of the ethical point of teaching. So you have to change your decision. But the subordinates will never ask to the management. Especially these type of activities are happening in the corporate section. They will never communicate due to they will want safety for their job. So majority of the people around the world working in the corporate sector facing these type of problems. Whatever it may be, in this situation, communication breaks. It will never complete. And last point is lack of proper incentives stops the subordinate to offer useful suggestions. So whenever the workers are getting incentives, maybe monetary or non-monetary incentive, that employee will give creative suggestions. If he is not getting proper suggestion, maybe a single word from the superior will never give any suggestions in the future. So it also suppresses the mentality of the subordinate. So please always give opportunity to the workers to express their views. Otherwise, the communication will break. So, dear students, all these factors coming under personal barriers. So, we learned the different types of barriers which break the communication, but we have to find out the solution also to overcome these barriers. So, improving communication effectiveness, how we can improve the effectiveness of communication process. The last topic from the chapter there. How to improve the communication process or how we can increase the effectiveness of communication process in an organization. So few points are there. Please listen. First one is clarify the ideas before communication. Clarify the ideas before communication. My dear students, normally in the international and national level seminars, there will be some printouts regarding the theme of that seminar going to present. What are the topics? What are the different topics on which speeches are going to conduct? Competitions are going to conduct. Like some ideas will be given already regarding that seminars. Like here also, when there is a meeting between the superior and subordinate, they will plan agendas. They will create agendas. What are the important topics we have to discuss in the meeting? It must be there. Then only the communication process will be very clear. So clarify the ideas before communication. Then communicate according to the needs of the receiver. Whenever we are hearing some speeches which are unnecessary for us, we will never listen. We will never give attention for their words. So we have to give what is needed by the receiver. That is another method, another solution for the barrier of communication. Third one is consult others before communicating. Whenever we are taking a decision in the organization, we have to, before taking the final decision, we have to consult with all the workers or representatives of workers in the organization. Then they have to join together for a meeting and take the decision. It will reduce the barriers. Consult others before communicating. And be aware of language and the tone, way of talking, and content of message. So before expressing, transferring, transmitting the information, we have to aware about the language of the receiver and the tone, how we are talking, and the content or message we are giving. If we are giving wrong message, it will create a negative translation of information. So these are the ways we can improve the communication effectiveness. We have to ensure proper feedback for the from the receiver. Every time we have to get the proper feedback. Maybe by calling the receiver, we have to collect the feedback. So every time feedback provides the opportunity for suggestions and criticism. Every time we have to give opportunity. Suppose we are working in a school, the management should always collect information, suggestions from the teachers and all other workers, and try to solve the problems or the grievances by the teachers. Then there will be a smooth relation between the workers. If they are not hearing the voice of teachers, there will be no good relationship between the management and the teachers. Teachers are just workers and they will work only for the salary. If there is a smooth relation between these two peoples, the organization will go to heights. Other competitors can't able to defeat these teams having good spirit of leadership and team spirit. So always collect feedback. I think it is a better solution. Every time the managerial heads should contact each and every individual individually. They have to collect personal opinions. Don't take biased decisions. That is the one suggestion. Then follow-up communication helps to remove hurdles. Follow-up communication helps to remove hurdles, misunderstanding of information given by the managers to the subordination. So every time we have to conduct follow-up, we have to collect the feedback, we have to clarify all these things. Follow-up communication must be there with the receiver. So manager should talk to the subordinates after once the send message is sent to the receiver and proper feedbacks are coming. How to discuss? Any suggestions is there? Please tell to me. And the last point, every time the top management must be a good listener for the voices, for the suggestions, for the feedback of the subordinates. So the receiver will able to send all the feedback in the right manner. Be a good listener. My dear students, we are finishing the chapter directing here. We learned what is directing, its importance, principles, and what are the different elements of directing: supervising, motivation, communication, and leadership. Also, we have learned Maslow's need hierarchy theory, what is the concept of leadership, styles of leadership, concept of communication, what are the different types of communication, barriers of communication, how to overcome all these barriers. I hope this lesson is very clear for you. If you have any doubts, please chat to me in the inbox and try to share this video with your friends. Maximum share will give you, and also try to improve your knowledge by collecting examples for all the concepts from this chapter. And we will meet in the next lesson, controlling in the next video. Thank you.